It's Fully Threaded Radio.
Hi, everyone. Eric Dudas here with a special report episode of the podcast. During episode 157 of Fully Threaded Radio, we discussed the industrial distribution Big 50 list, as many of you heard. And near the top of that venerable list of industry giants is Optimas Solutions. They're the Chicago-based heavyweight known for helping manufacturers to elevate output and reduce costs with their tech-driven approach to supplying fasteners and related solutions. There have been two major headlines in recent weeks from Optimas, and since they're such a big fish in the pond we're all swimming in, I jumped at the chance to speak with the newly appointed CEO over there. That's Marc Strandquist, who many of you know from his many contributions to Fully Threaded Radio over the years. Now, this isn't a lengthy conversation, but it will give you a deeper understanding about the new strategic direction Optimas set out. And Marc also had a chance to comment on his management style, the sometimes confusing past of the company, and he winds up with an update on the personal setback he experienced a few years back. We discussed that, you might remember, at the time on the podcast. There's a lot here, and I know many of you in the audience will get a lot out of it. So with that, here's the conversation with the remarkable Marc Strandquist. Optimas Solutions is a global manufacturer and distributor of industrial fasteners, as well as a wide range of supply chain solutions. The company recently announced a bold strategic plan to help their many customers and suppliers who are rethinking how they do business. It was also announced that Marc Strandquist has been selected to guide Optimas along the path of its new direction. Marc was promoted to the position of CEO of Optimas after serving in his previous role as President of the Americas. He's no stranger to Fully Threaded Radio, and it's good to see a longtime friend do well. Marc Strandquist joins us now to discuss these developments. Marc, thanks for being here.
Hi, Eric. Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, I'm very pleased to be able to chat with you.
What can I say? But first, congratulations on your new role. That's a lot of news you have to share, so please dive right in. What are the high-level details of your new blueprint for Optimas?
Well, thank you, Eric. Yeah, we've obviously all of us have been dealing with the tumult of the virus and what it's done to the economy, and we all look at ways of reinventing ourselves. And so we've really spent, this year focused really on innovation, technology, improving what we have to offer customers of our current products and services. But we've also been looking at adding products and services to our portfolio so that we can become even more valuable to our customers. Specifically examples to that in terms of technology and innovation. We have a manufacturing plant in Chicago in Wooddale that we're very proud of. It has a lot of new equipment that can make very complicated automotive style parts. And we have the ability to take on quite a bit of business there. And one of the things we did this year to improve their technology was to, take them forward 20 years and install a new ERP system that's specific to manufacturing through Epicor and enable us to really improve our efficiencies and productivity and capacity. That's done now, and so that isn't just a dream of what I'd like to do for the future. That's been complete. Our team there was just so dedicated and focused. Now we have the ability where we have, like large TV screens up in the manufacturing shop floor that you can walk by, and each machine is labeled, and by color code, if it's running, if it's not running, what the issue might be. So, our ability to collect data and improve how we do things is pretty remarkable. And we supply complicated parts to a lot of different people. They could be engine parts. They could be truck assembly parts. We make product for all sorts of different types of industries. And we're looking to grow with that and add to our capability and capacity. And right now, one of the things that we've done, when I started, we didn't have a sales force for the Wooddale facility, and now we do. Spending a lot of time going out there and looking for those customers that are looking for the kind of added value that we can provide. And it's also a nice addition to our toolkit as we talk to customers about distribution programs. Another component to the innovation is installing and implementing a system for demand planning that's called Tools Group, which is definitely out there in terms of futuristic looking compared to what was being done before. We're very pleased. Again, that's done and implemented. It's not, again, something that is just a bunch of sales gas of what we want to do for the future. We've done it and we're doing it, and it's already effective for us. We're seeing inventory levels go down and having the right kind of inventory in stock, having the right kind of inventory in each of our distribution warehouses and not having a lot of excess and obsolete. And so we're really starting to see some nice inroads with that. And over time, as we burn off those CD and E type of products that are in our inventory that we have too much of, and that helps fund us as we want to add inventory and for new business. Kind of the third component for innovation is that we're just starting and getting going is the implementation of a cloud-based ERP system for the distribution operations. Again, we have been running on a mainframe, from the 1990s type of thing, and I'm really proud of how our group is attacking it. All the employees are aware of this, and they understand the importance of jumping forward in time with this kind of technology and what the additional benefits that it's going to bring to us. So, in terms of the innovation and technology side, that it adds to what we had already, which is we already do RFID for our customers. We're capable of doing that. The scale bin systems, all that type of stuff was already in place. Now we just have better tools in terms of the total components, in terms of, as I've said, in terms of technology and innovation. In terms of products, so like almost everybody else, that's always the classic adding product assortment that you can provide a customer. And so, as we looked at the planning for that, looking at safety items and PPE and, certainly products that would support what is required with the COVID virus and some of the protections people are looking for that maybe weren't there last year in these kind of volumes. So developing that, and so that caused us, we're pretty much done with that program in terms of what I call phase one. One element of that is, in the environment that Optimas was in over the last 5 years, all we seemed to do was shut branches down and retrench, shut branches down and retrench. And now we're actually opened up a new one for once where we're going the other way now. We're back to expansion. We're back to growth. And we have a highly motivated group that's jumped all over that. Actually, the grand opening was yesterday.
I saw that on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And we actually had the governor of Missouri there, which, was a pleasant surprise for us and a lot of great free press, for us to start up and certainly in that St. Louis, Missouri community in terms of being able to provide all sorts of customers, these types of things. And so, that's launched and going. So it's just those kind of a variety of things that I think really have helped us and helped us as a company, get back kind of our mojo, in terms of, the last 5 years for Optimas. I think to a lot of the industry was a mystery. We were great farmers. Most of the relationships we have with customers are almost 10 years, or more. But we really weren't out there in terms of new business. We were not a risk or a threat to people in terms of what we offered. But I think this year has been spent putting all that together. What's our value add that we can provide a customer? How exactly can we save them a lot of money? And so we're doing that. And I think that come 2021, we are going to be a competitor to be reckoned with, and be able to compete with many of the people that are out there today. We have wonderful competition, and I have no problem saying that, and they're all great companies with a lot of unique capabilities. But I think the one thing that separates Optimas is the collection of those things. There is a very few people that are global. Because when we say global, we just don't have a warehouse in Europe and we consider ourselves global, right? We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in sales on an international basis. So, when you look at global, when you look at being able to provide JIT programs and RFID and scales, when you couple that with the engineering that we can provide, then you couple that with domestic manufacturing of mail-threaded fasteners, and then you couple that with the PPE and safety. When you look at those combinations of things, there's fewer than 5 people out there that have that total package. There's excellent companies that we compete with that do the PPE and safety. There's no question, but they don't offer domestic cold forming manufacturing like we do. There's domestic cold forming manufacturing companies out there that are all excellent and very good at what they do, but they don't offer distribution services. And then when you look at a customer that may have a location in Mexico and the U.S. and Bulgaria, we're able to satisfy that need. So from a global perspective. So when you look at all those attributes and all those capabilities and you put them into one, I've used the example just today with some of our people, we're waking up a sleeping giant here, that of capability that I think is going to be a force out there in the marketplace, providing good quality products and services with very talented people, and I think we'll make a mark out there. So this year has been kind of a retrofitting, refurbishing, whatever you want to call it, and I think these things are really going to do well for us in the future.
Well, it's clear you're bringing a strong mix into the market, and it's clear that you have a vision for how you're going to do it. I wonder if we can circle back for a moment. You said a lot there. A few moments ago, you touched on something maybe we should revisit and then put it behind us. For a few years, the market has really been scratching their heads a little bit about the direction of Optimas. Now you've stated it clearly, but can you speak a little bit about where it's been recently?
Well, I think the answer to that is a little self-evident with the lack of new business. I think we just were kind of stuck in neutral, and the strategies in place and the tools that were going to be used to implement those strategies just weren't aligned. And I think that's what my 34 years of experience in both manufacturing and distribution. I'm a fastener rat from the beginning, back in 1986. So, I've had a lot of good experience, I think, in terms of what's out there, and I've seen what works and what doesn't work, and that's how you gain experience, right? It's not because you're successful with everything or the company you work for. Back when I was just a little puppy and working for companies that had, senior management, and I was just one of the soldiers. But, I think a lot of it was just kind of a lack of strategy, lack of understanding, really the fastener business. And, I think there was good intentions and people were making the best decisions they had for what they had. But I think, the ability to add fastener experience. So as an example, one thing that we brought this year as we restructured our strategic sourcing area was if you were to say even a year ago from today, or a year and a half ago, if you looked at, the top 3-4 people, candidly, there was obviously probably 100 years of business experience, but less than 10 years of fastener experience. And so we've completely turned that around, where now when you look at that top row, we've added people this year that 30 years here, 25 years there, all in the fastener business. And so now, instead of 10 years or less of fastener experience and the 100 years of business experience, now we have over 100 years of business experience, but we also have over 100 years of fastener experience. And I do think that matters. And I'm not trying to be a fastener snob about this industry, but I think it is critical. I mean, you do need to have good management, but I think good management with fastener experience is the winning combination, not just good management without any fastener experience. So I think that's one key thing that has helped us as we've kind of quit being in neutral, and now we're going to be a little more assertive out there in the marketplace, and hopefully a good competitor in the fastener industry.
Well, you've put a pretty clear strategy for addressing all of the changes that are coming in industry out there, Mark. And you've also got the domain expertise lined up clearly, and there's definitely a place, I agree with you, for that. I wonder if you could characterize your leadership style. You've been put in command of this ship. What are you going to bring into this? How are you going to approach this?
Okay, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, let's take the fastener experience and put that to the side as a given. I think one of the things, I'll give you a specific example. We went through strategic planning exercise in August, and we had basically the top 34 leaders in the company, and we split it up into a sales and marketing week and then an operations week, and put forward the challenges of where we want to go for the next 3 years and how do we get there. And, it was noted by most of them that they've really never been approached like that before. The kind of previous administration just said, here's a 50 slide PowerPoint and this is where we're going. And they never had a chance to provide input. And so in terms of a style, I very much include everybody and everybody knows that we're all on an even plane and there's no bad ideas and come up with suggestions. And so we got full participation and within the teams, and they came up with a lot of good aggressive ideas and took on the challenges, and so I think, in terms of style, being participatory and letting people be a part of the decision, because now it's their decision, right? It wasn't a Marc Strandquist decision. It may have been an idea that we now fleshed out into a plan, into a strategic direction. But now we've got, those 34 people are going to buy in. And now I have basically a goodwill ambassador, right? Now, as they deal with all their people, and they spread the word, then all of a sudden now I've got 600 people. And now with this additional responsibility of the international group, I've got 1,300 employees that I want to be a part of it and have them buy in. Because, everybody, as kind of a phase two to your answer to your point, everybody can play a role. So part of the leadership style needs to be, how do you educate the employees on what role they have in our success? So if we have a goal of X, and if you're an inside salesperson, what do I do to impact X and to make it better? Or if I'm a warehouse person, or I'm a quality inspector, or I'm a salesperson, or I'm a quotations person, how does everybody in the company buy in and make it happen? And so I think that is one thing. And then kind of part three to that, Optimas was scattered in terms of the leadership structure, right? We're in a beautiful office building in Glenview that was a remnant of when it was called Annixter Fasteners. So there's kind of a compound of buildings here in Glenview that Annixter had. So wire and cable was in one building, and we were in another, et cetera, et cetera. And then we had the Wooddale facility, the manufacturing plant, and all the leadership was over there. And so I'm proud to announce how one of the initiatives is we're going to consolidate everybody into one building. And so we have space in the Wooddale facility to do so, believe it or not. It's going through construction right now. So we're completely revamping a section of the office part so that we can fit everybody in there. And now we're going to be one team. There's no more silos. There's no more corporate. I always hated the ivory palace mentality, meaning,
right.
You have corporate up in the ivory palace, and they're not really connected to the revenue generating locations. And so there's always, this thing about being out of touch and being better than others. And I don't tolerate.
You're not an ivory tower kind of guy, Mark.
I'm not. Maybe that's bad. I don't know, but I don't. I'm not. I'm a simple fellow that grew up in Illinois in the Midwest, and I'm not into that. So we're going to put everybody in one building. So now. If someone wants to talk to someone, we don't shoot an email and hope we get an answer. You can just get up from your desk, walk over and talk to the other person. And you'd be able to do the fun stuff where, and it sounds stupid, but whether it's, like one thing we did over at Wooddale was we had kind of a cookout thing on a Friday. Even in the COVID environment, we followed all the right precautions, but everybody wore their Chicago Cub outfit, right? And I even went out
nice.
I went and bought a Chicago Cub hat, and because I really wasn't a Cub fan necessarily, but I thought, I did what I could to blend in, and now and we'll be able to do that more as a group now, and even silly things like an ugly sweater day or Christmas celebrations. We'll be one team, within the corporate structure and all the leadership, and then of course we always have our branches, and we're scattered all over the globe. But, these are the types of things that I think are important culturally that would separate us. I don't want to be a corporate-centric type of a company. I don't believe in that. Corporate is here to support anybody that's generating revenue, the plants, the branches, the people out in the field that do the real work. I expect corporate, they're not here to support corporate. We're here to support them. And that's one thing that I insist on is, we're not corporate-centric, that all we do is say, what else do you need? What else do you need? What resources can we provide? How do we make your life easier? That's the mentality and the culture I want out of leadership. And that's the type of stuff we're doing. So I'm really happy. Sometime around the Christmas holidays, we hope to move in and get out of this building and save some money and then get the tremendous benefit culturally.
Right. So you're aware of the bottom line, but you're also culturally aware as well. Well, that's really interesting, Mark. And of course, we'll all be watching to see how you roll this out. I'm guessing that increased revenues are in your future. You've said a lot about your personal style here. I wanted to give you the chance also to discuss something that we touched on in an earlier episode of Fully Threaded Radio. This is going back a little ways now, but recently you overcame a personal challenge in your life, and that's led you to this point, and it's a big part of who you are and how you approach things. Would you care to update everyone on that?
Well, I believe you're referencing, I had several years ago, I'd got a kidney disease that basically was unable to get fixed in time. And so I ended up having to have a kidney transplant. And so I've had the good fortune of recovering nicely and certainly not, damaging my perspective on life and makes you put more value to it. But yeah, I've been very fortunate to overcome that. It was a difficult time, and going through that process and going through the after effects and the side effects you get from I'm a high risk guy, so in this COVID environment, I have to be careful about travel. Being a high risk guy, and because I'm on anti-rejection drugs, which I'll be on the rest of my life in terms of protecting me from rejection of the new kidney and all that. So so I appreciate you bringing that up. But yeah, I'm proud of the rebound and the ability to continue on and not just feel sorry for myself and go hide in my house and not do anything. That's why this job is so perfect for me, and I'm very pleased and I appreciate American Industrial Products. They're the ones that own Optimas, and they've just been phenomenal in support for this year and and what I do. So I love what I'm doing, and I'm not using that issue as something that holds me back. And hopefully, I'm a good example of life after transplant. And what you can accomplish and do after dealing with some type of difficult situation like that.
Well, you've certainly demonstrated that, and I know you won't say it, so I just will. You were admirably courageous throughout that whole period, and we had some things going on during that time, and we took care of business, did a little fishing as well, and you were just a soldier through the whole thing. So it's just great. I'm glad you were able to bring everybody up to speed on that, because we did leave off on that subject, and I just can't wait to see how this unfolds for you, Mark. Let me ask you this, and we'll wind it up. You've been a great supporter of the Fastener Distributor Index since we launched, believe it or not, about 9 years ago now. What did you think about the latest readings peaking up above 50 again? And what are your thoughts in general about the direction?
Well, I think it continues to be an accurate tool, and I encourage everybody to follow it because we're seeing the same thing. As we look at, despite what the media wants to convince us all, we are seeing upticks in the economy, and some of the projections for next year are very promising. So I think it's accurate. You see log jams in the freight lanes, with containers, and you're seeing over the road traffic increasing, and prices are going up because of the activity and more. Now, sure, there's some markets that are still hurt and haven't recovered, but there's plenty more markets that have recovered and are on their way back to what's somewhat normal. So, I'm optimistic. It's not my original phrase, but we at Optimus, we're going to make our own economy. And the meaning that we're going to offer better products, better services, more products. We're going to lead by innovation and technology. And I don't care what goes on with the virus. We're going to go out there and make our own economy, and do well. And this is not going to be an obstacle. I put that in everybody's mind as we talk about things for next year and where we think we might go. I'm not allowing anybody to use that as an excuse. It is off the table. We're going to find a way around it. That's what we're paid to do as leaders, and innovators. It's our job to overcome these obstacles, and that's what we're going to do. I really feel firmly about that. It's all about attitude.
Well said. We've been speaking with Marc Strandquist. He's CEO of Optimas. You can follow what's going on at Optimas at the website, www.optimas.com. Lots of things unfolding there, and it's been great to talk to you, Mark. I'm so glad we were able to do this.
Oh, you're very welcome. I always want to support you and what you're doing, so I'm pleased to be able to do so.
We'll talk to you soon, and thanks for listening, everyone. It's been a special edition of Fully Threaded Radio.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse.